Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. So following on from Sunday's video where I cut the cord attachment like that one into this style of this window. So I have two awesome questions on that one that I'm going to answer now, and I also had two really good questions on the midweek video which was looking at marking knives. So I'll come on to those in a minute, but first of all I'm going to deal with the questions about the cords or the cord attachment. And the first question was about drilling end grain. So obviously when you put these in, you have a hole to drill in the end grain to go down into the hole that's drilled across grain where the knot would the cord would sit. And this is what attaches the cord to these windows. The cord gets shoved down through this hole, it gets flicked out, a knot is tied in it, the knot is then forced back into this hole, and that's what holds the window tight. So I was asked about drilling. Now this one here is the bit that I used, and it was issued to the GPO in 1937. If you can all see that. So it does give you a good clue. And it was made by WM Ridgeway in Sheffield, and it's a 3/8 bit. But, get that to focus. Importantly, it is a standard bit. You all saw me use it. I have no problem using a bit like that that's sharp, and that one could just do with a touch up now. You can just see there's a little bit of, right on that corner, look, can you see it? Tiny little bit of a flat spot there. That side's not too bad though, but that side definitely could just do with a touch up now because it has that little flat spot. Yeah, that side there. It's a tiny little flat spot. You can just see it reflecting the light. So I have no problem. I've never had any problem drilling end grain with bits like this. As long as this lead auger or snail is good, then you really don't have a problem, I don't think. So yeah, that's what I drilled it with. Just a standard auger, nothing special. You can use a Gedges pattern because they're supposed to be really good in end grain apparently. But yeah, I've only ever used what's at hand, to be honest. If it fits and it's long enough, that's what I use. This is the one I tend to use most for that job. I try not to then use it for anything else. That's the other thing. I do try and keep this bit specifically for doing these. I've got an 8mm one somewhere. Or 8ish. I can't remember what the metric equivalent is, the imperial equivalent is, but it's 8mm-ish, 8.5mm I think it actually is. That I also do the same job with. And I've done the job also with a long furniture maker, like a lamp maker's auger, a short lamp maker's auger, spoon auger. That's quite good as well. That, you know, both work. So yeah, don't be afraid to do it. You know, you saw me do it, no problem. You know, don't be afraid to try it. So then, moving on to the second question, which was also a fantastic question, is about this type of cord attachment. And was it an older style? I think yes, probably it is an older style. I don't tend to see them just nailed into a groove until the end of the Victorian period here in the Midlands and sort of down in Kent, which is where I do most of my work. So I have a lot of family down in Kent, and I do a lot of work in Kent because I've always had a base. I also have a contact down there that puts me into work. You know, my late uncle used to put me a lot of work my way. He used to mention me to a lot of customers, and that's why I do so much down there and have done so much down there historically. So I've seen more of this over the years than I have of these. These are actually out of my late uncle's house. These ones with the long grooving, and these are original window styles because they are all the same. and I know the history of the repairs that have been done since he's had the house in the 1970s. So I know pretty much most of the history of the windows, certainly for the last 50 years. Prior to that, yeah, they'd have had cords changed and things like that, but they wouldn't have been having casements changed and things like that. So I've got here an original Georgian one. And I've then got this later Victorian one. And what I tend to find is that the Victorian ones stand up really well. The Georgian ones have often been broken here because they were not allowing enough length here. So these ones are often broken out, these Georgian ones, is what I found. But they are always square in the bottom, is the other thing, the Georgian ones. I think this one was drilled with the long auger all the way because it has a round bottom in here. So I think this one was probably drilled all the way and then chopped out to the drill hole. Maybe. I'm not totally convinced, but it does have a round bottom in here. Whereas the Georgian ones are always square. They're always very obviously chopped out. But one of the key differences is this length here. They're almost always longer on the Victorian ones. And it was, which suggests to me that it had been being used as a method of attaching cords for a long period of time. In that they'd worked out that this is a failure point and this perhaps is a bit better and a bit longer. So I think possibly not. I mean, I do find the Victorian ones are slightly longer though. But it just gives you a good inkling as to what's going on. Like I say, I don't see in my work very often this long groove and the cords just straight nailed very often. This seems to me to be a late Victorian 1880s onwards sort of thing. So yeah, that's why, you know, and this is why it's important to match the detail. When they've broken out here, I do just pin the cords in, I have to say. I don't modify it because you can still see the hole was drilled. I will pin the cords into this area here if they've been broken out. I still tie a knot in the bottom so it looks right, but then I put 3 pins in here. So yeah. What more, I don't know what more I can say on that one, guys. It's something I see all the time. It's something I replicate on a regular basis with all my new frames. If it's there, I make sure it goes back there. So, and I would urge you guys to do the same. So then, we're on to the subject of marking knives. In particular, there was a couple of things. There was a comment made on this particular knife, and somebody had said they bought the thinner bladed version. Now, I had a thinner blade. I had a 1.5mm blade, Veritas one, and it eventually snapped. I'm not so keen. I do like these slightly thicker blades, and yeah, we're only using the tip, and people say, oh, I don't know what the difference is, you know, I don't know what the benefit is. Well, for me, these last me a lot longer. Or I say they last me a lot longer, I lose the bloody things before, you know, the Veritas one I broke, but yeah, I do tend to lose them before I break them, to be honest. But I like that type, and it's marking knives, like a lot of other things with tools, are solely personal preference. If you like a particular type of knife, if you like the thin blade folding Stanleys, fine, use the thin blade folding Stanleys. I personally don't get on with them. I really find them, I tend to find them too flexible, to be honest. But that's my take on it. If I'm cutting dovetails, then I use a Stanley knife to, a scalpel knife to fit down between my tails. So yeah, and it's not something I do often as an architectural joiner. Cutting dovetails is not something I do on a regular basis. I couldn't tell you the last time I cut a string of dovetails, to be honest. I cut a lot of singles, but it's very rare for me to cut a string of dovetails these days. So, the main question though was on this type of blade and awl type marking knives. Now, I really do like this type of marking knife. I've got 4 of them that I've picked up over the years from various different places, in various different sizes. This is the one I probably use most. I just like it. I just like this as a knife. It fits nicely. You know, I can hold it between my first 2 fingers, and you know, I can carry on doing, and I can also pick a pencil up with it. So I can pick a pencil up and still make marks. You know, I can write on my rod whilst I've still got this in my hand. So I do tend to do that, and I do tend to use this one a lot. But I have these others as well. I have to say I do have these others. And so this was the one that was in the video because that's the one I use most. I also have this one, which is quite a narrow one. This one's quite nice actually, because the awl is quite heavy. So it balances really nicely in the hand, and it's quite fine, so it's quite good for detail work. This one here, this one's got my favourite lettering stamps on it. I love these stamps. which I assume was the owner. But again, real nice one to use. But my absolute favourite of all is this one, because somebody spent a lot of time to decorate this one. It's not quite so comfortable to use as the others because of the decoration, but you know what? Anybody who's going to go to that length of work in decorating a tool is a tool I want to own. This one is stamped DG on both sides. This one's a bit more battered though. This one's been heavily ground on a grinder. I am getting it out slowly. I don't use it often, but I am getting it out slowly as I sharpen it, because it's been a bit battered by the grinder. But yeah, what a lovely tool. But yeah, these I think they were pattern makers tools. I think they were made by the owners or by the users, and they user-made tools usually. But yeah, I do quite like them. I rate them as marking knives. I do use them as marking knives. The only thing I will say is they're easily lost. I mean, not that I have a problem losing marking knives anyway. I must drop them on the floor and sweep them up with the shavings, to be honest, guys. But these are definitely easy lost, especially on site. That's the only thing I would say. I wouldn't use one of these on site because they are too easily lost. Not that I'm trying to do much on site anyway, but doing the repairs, I don't have a lot of choice. I have to do work on site. But yeah, so that's it for today's video, guys. Just a few thoughts on what we're doing. You know, if you're all liking the window content, I'll try and make a bit more. There's a bit of content coming on the door and just on some finishing work and finishing touches and things like that. But we'll look at that. And yeah, keep me up to date as to what you want to see, guys. You know, keep dropping in the comments what you want to see. I will keep making window and door content, but if anybody's got anything specific that they want to see, let me know, and I will try my best to make it. You know, I'll keep trying to answer questions like this, and just keep making stuff, guys. Keep trying, keep doing, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.